and things you may not know, to include special enrollment periods. Now, December 7th typically ends the Medicare enrollment season, talking specifically and only about Medicare Advantage and Part D drug plans. With Medigap plans, otherwise known as Medicare supplement plans, you can enroll or change or drop, go to different companies all year long. There is no deadline for that. December 7th, however, is the deadline for signing up for a Medicare Advantage plan or a Part D drug plan. We'll talk about other enrollment periods, but today we're going to talk specifically about disaster special enrollment periods. You may not have heard about a disaster happening in your state, but you'd be very surprised to hear the amount of disasters that are going on in the United States. You probably didn't even know about it. Here's a state list that I made based on all the documents that are out there, and there are a lot of them. They're PDFs provided by the insurance companies looking at the FEMA website, various disaster declarations provided by different governors in different states. And these are all what's going on right now as I record this on December 8th, 2023. Now, these change. Some of these will expire, for instance, at the end of 2023. Some, though, have no expiration date on that and actually have to be expired manually. So if you look here, and again, this is just a snapshot in time. This is not current, depending on when you're watching this, but as of the date of right now, and these always change. That's the thing. They have nothing to do with a season. They have to do with something happening. I'll give you an example. In the state of South Carolina, we had a hurricane that came through, Hurricane Idalia. Well, the governor, Henry McMaster, made a disaster declaration that said that if you were in the state at the time that this thing happened, and you had an enrollment period and you missed it for whatever reason, and you can cite this disaster as having happened, then you continue to have an open enrollment for yourself. And again, we're talking here about Medicare Advantage or Part D. So what does that mean? It literally means that December 7th is not your end date if you have a disaster special enrollment period there. And these are a variety of things. They could be due to gun violence in certain states, drought, mudslides, wildfires, just crime in general. It's incredible. The governors are getting very creative on extending the enrollment deadlines for certain things. Now, in states that are shown here, and again, this is my graphic, not provided by anybody else. I literally made this based on all the boring data that's considered just a plethora of data and variety of different companies spitting out states and reasons and excuses and all that kind of stuff. This makes it a lot simpler. And in the orange states listed here, they have anywhere from like 20 counties in California affected by mudslides, drought, fires, and all the rest, to maybe one state in Indiana that was affected by something that just happened there. So in the orange states, you have to be very careful. Medicare, they continue to maintain a list of these disaster declarations, but it's ironically not listed in Medicare's Medicare and You Guidebook about disaster SEPs. And that's why I wanted to do a YouTube video about it for your education, just so that you know if you missed an enrollment period, there may be still an opportunity for you to get on a Medicare Advantage plan or a Part D plan or change them. Let me look exactly at specifically at one that happened, for instance, the one I talked about in South Carolina. You can find these on the FEMA website. When they make these disasters, they just create them. And so this one is talking about Hurricane Idalia that happened August to September. It was declared August 31st of 2023, but has not been rescinded and still is hanging out there. Again, the governors are making it easier and easier for their people to continue to get on these plans. So how do you know how that works? Well, if you Google search it, you'll come up with things like this. This document listed and linked below in the description of this video, so you can find it, talks about special election issues for affected people to declared emergencies and disasters. What if I missed my opportunity to enroll because of the disaster? Can I have more time to choose a health or prescription drug plan? When they say health, they're talking about Medicare Advantage plan. And it says a special election period, otherwise known as special enrollment period. They go back and forth. For individuals affected by an emergency or disaster who need to enroll in, disenroll from, or switch Medicare, Medicare Advantage, or prescription drug plan and missed other election periods is available in areas where emergencies or disasters have been declared by either federal, state, or local government entities. It is available for the duration of the emergency or disaster, plus an additional 2 months following the end date of the emergency or disaster. Where can you go to see more information? Medicare.gov. You'd have to call Medicare, rather. If you go online, you won't see these listed there unless you go looking at FEMA. Who qualifies? If you resided in that area or resided at the start of the period described in the area, then you have to either prove that you were there. This is funny. You have to prove you were there or declare verbally that you were in the area. And you must have been eligible for a different election period at the time, like the annual election period happened, and you did not make an election during that other period. So if you're in that period and you sign up for Medicare Advantage plan, then you've already used your period. There's nothing special for you. But if you missed it totally, do you have to show proof that you lived in the area affected by a weather event, for instance? No. If the plan asks you for proof that you resided in the area and you have it, you should provide it. However, if your documents were destroyed, for example, or you don't have access to them, you can attest to residing in one of the affected areas. And so this is just weird how Medicare does not cover these, but the HHS website does cover them. And here's an example of some information given by one of the insurance carriers on how to look for these things, and they track them like crazy. These are ones that have expired to let people know, and these are ones that are currently going on. See, like the end date of this special enrollment period to be determined, meaning it has not happened yet. Alaska, Arizona, and to compile this information in a graphical form, I thought would be beneficial. And so that's why I made it here. And we'll continue to maintain a list of these because it really could help somebody who missed their annual election period for whatever reason. Things are happening. People are going through cancer. They're going through their own personal disasters. But if one of these situations exists in your state where you are, like the Hawaii wildfires, for instance, those people's lives were just devastated, turned upside down. And this may apply to them where they missed signing up for the annual election period. They may be moving houses, rebuilding their entire lives. So that's just one of many special enrollment periods that we'll talk about today. Some of the others are quite interesting. In the Medicare Advantage world, they have star ratings that are given for a variety of different things. And this year, going forward for 2024, they've changed some of the criteria in there. But basically, it has to do with how healthy is their population and how satisfied is their population on the health care that they're getting. And if you look at the description, this is covered on Medicare.gov. They'll talk about these 5-star plans, and this can be Medicare Advantage plans or Part D drug plans. When you're looking at Medicare supplement plans, they do not have a star rating. They don't have a national rating whatsoever. They're regulated by the states. But there are some resources online that you can find. Let me find it here. Wait, that's the wrong one. There we go. This is where the 5-star plans are covered on CMS website in the newsroom. They'll talk about the ones for the next year. And the number of 5-star plans has gone down considerably. For instance, last year in 2023, there were 57 5-star Medicare Advantage plans, which would be considered the best of the best. The overwhelming majority of those are the nonprofit plans, which makes sense because they're turning their profit back into healthcare, or they should. So this year for 2024, there are only 31 plans. So it has gone down. Their criteria has gotten more strict. And this list, and I will put this again in the description of this video so you can click on it. It lists the Medicare Advantage companies and basically where they're located. But if you're looking on a tool like Medicare.gov, you can see, as you're looking in your local area, you can see the 5-star plans that are there. Now, what does that mean? It's a 5-star plan. Okay, it means if you did not get on a Medicare Advantage plan for that enrollment period that preceded it, and you wish that you had, you can go to a 5-star plan anytime during the year. It's a one-time special enrollment period. One time you can do this. But you can join that plan outside of any other election period. Or you can change to a 5-star Medicare Advantage plan if one exists in your area. Anytime that you want to. Florida had some really good ones last year. So that's 5-star plans, and you can see those on Medicare.gov. They're pretty easy to find. Let's talk about some other special enrollment periods. We talked about moving out of the Medicare Advantage service area. I've talked about in many of my videos. If, for instance, let me just give you a scenario. If you come down with cancer and you find yourself on a Medicare Advantage HMO plan, and for whatever reason, you're not finding the specialty care that you need, that your doctor wished that you would have, whether it's oncologist, cancer treatment centers, cancer specialized hospitals, etc. Sometimes they just don't exist in many local Medicare HMOs. Well, if you move in with a relative to help you with your care, to get you back and forth to appointments and so forth, if the relative or the address that you change your address to with Medicare is in an area with a lot of good provider networks and all that kind of thing for your Medicare Advantage choices, because you moved out of your service area, that's going to kick you off of your Medicare Advantage plan. So your Medicare Advantage plan is tied to your geographic area, typically a county or maybe 2 or 3 counties, and that's where your plan exists. That's where it's filed with Medicare. That's what the rates are based on. The network adequacy rules have to do with is where you are geographically. Well, if you change your address out of that, they'll kick you out. They'll send you a letter and say, you changed your address, therefore you're out of our plan area. Now, you can do one of 2 things. You can either get on a different Medicare Advantage plan that is in your new area, or you can get on a Part D drug plan based on your current needs at that time, because it's completely new, based on the new area that you've just moved to, changed your address to. And you could get a Medicare supplement plan with no provider networks, with no restrictions, et cetera, et cetera. And you could go to one of those specialty hospitals. The Medicare supplement plan that you would qualify for is a guarantee issue plan, meaning there's no underwriting. So let me wrap this up again. Something happens with you major, you're on a Medicare Advantage plan, and you need to move outside your service area to go maybe live with somebody else that's better to help you take care of things, or just to change your geography to get better care. If you move outside of the service area of your current Medicare Advantage plan, you then trigger this special enrollment period where you can either get on a new Medicare Advantage plan or get a guarantee issue Medicare supplement. Most people will choose a Medicare supplement plan G because that's the guarantee issue go-to nowadays, unless you were eligible for Medicare before January 1 of 2020, and in which case plan F is your guarantee issue go-to on a Medicare supplement. But then when you get that Medicare supplement guarantee issue, it also allows you to get a standalone Part D drug plan, which is good because in this scenario, if you do have a bad health condition, typically if you had signed up for the cheapest Part D drug plan based on taking no drugs or just generics, if you're facing something that's significant in a health crisis, you're probably going to change those needs of your Part D drug plan. So by changing your address out of the service area, it allows you to go shop that again based on new criteria. So that's been beneficial to a lot of people, but a lot of people don't know that. You moved back to the United States, you went overseas, you were living in Portugal, you had your golden visa, or Costa Rica, wherever. When you move back to the United States, that triggers a special enrollment period only for Medicare Advantage, not for Medicare Supplement. With Medicare Supplement, you'd still have to go through underwriting if you did not have a Medicare Supplement. Or let's say you moved into a long-term care or skilled rehab place, changed your address to that location, that triggers a special enrollment period. You can then get on a Medicare Advantage plan specific to that area. Or you moved out, you moved back into a home or with somebody else. Either way, in or out of an institution triggers a special enrollment period with Medicare Advantage only. If you have a Medicare Supplement, you can move anywhere in the country and nothing changes about that plan because it's not tied to your local geography except to generate the first rates. If you're released from prison, or as the Medicare guidebook, because they don't know anything about crime and criminality, they call it a jail. You don't go to jail for more than 30 days or whatever until or at least a year or more. That's called prison. So if you're sentenced to something, you're going to serve out a felony sentence or anything over a year, then you're actually in prison. And if you go to prison, that's going to mess up your plan that you're on, obviously, with Medicare. So being released from prison gives you a special enrollment period only for Medicare Advantage or Part D, not for Medicare Supplement. You were on Medicaid, and this just happened in 2023, 2022. A whole bunch of people were kicked off of Medicaid. That's going to trigger a special enrollment period, not for Medicare Supplement, but only for Medicare Advantage. You can pick a new Medicare Advantage plan because maybe the one you were on before was a dual eligible plan, meaning you were on both Medicare and Medicaid, and those two things together triggered you to be in a dual eligible plan. or if you left your employer coverage. This is crucial, and this takes more explanation. If you're on an employer plan and you're working past the age of 65, typically at the age of 65, you'd better get on Medicare. You've got 3 months before the month of your birthday and 3 months after, and you could do your Part B enrollment. If you miss that, but you're working at an employer that has 20 employees or more, you're fine. If you've got qualifying creditable coverage, meaning you're taking advantage of their employer group health insurance, you're fine. When does that expire? It doesn't. You can continue working for that employer until you're 80, 85, 90, whatever. Whenever you leave that employer, it triggers a special enrollment period for you to go get Part B of Medicare if you don't have it already, or if you do have Part B of Medicare, because you don't need Part B if you're in a group employer plan of 20 lives or more, you don't need Part B. You could just do the employer plan if you want to and save that money. But let's say you did start Part B for whatever reason, but now you're leaving your employer coverage. That's okay. You have an 8-month window to go get onto a Medicare Advantage plan if you wanted to. And this is not found on Medicare.gov, strangely enough. This is found on the Social Security website. And here's the really important part. It's very critical to get this timing and to know the details here. This publication is linked in the description of the video below. Let me read it for you. When can I enroll in my SEP? You can use an SEP, Special Enrollment Period, to enroll in Part B while you're still in a group plan based on current employment. Also, if your employment ends or employer-provided medical coverage ends, you have 8 months from that month, whichever comes first, to sign up for Part B of Medicare. This will prevent a delay in coverage and possible penalty. Part B penalties kick in once it's been 12 months or longer that you should have had Part B, but you didn't get it. It has to be 12 months. And for each 12-month period, it's a 10% per year compounding penalty. 10% of what? 10% of your Part B cost. So if your Part B cost is $200 a month or $300 a month or $400 a month, if you're getting high income sacked to you with IRMA, another topic, then it would be 10% more for every year that you did not get Part B, assuming you didn't have qualifying other coverage. But here, if you had qualifying coverage, no problem. Now, this period of time, the 8 months to sign up for Part B, does not count as covered based on COBRA, retiree health coverage. So we're talking active employees only that have this 8-month period of time. So the following don't count as current employment. COBRA people, and we've been trying to get this changed in Washington forever, that COBRA would be considered active coverage, but it's just not. Retiree health coverage, so you took a union or your employer's retiree program, that does not qualify. Veterans coverage does not qualify to eliminate you off of having to get Part B. It does for Part D. Don't want to confuse people, but for Part D, the drug plan part, VA is okay. But for Part B as in boy, that's the part of Medicare that covers doctors and outpatient things. Having VA alone does not give you qualifying creditable coverage. Neither does Affordable Care Act or Obamacare individual health coverage. That does not qualify you to avoid getting Part B. You should get Part B when you're first eligible, or if you're working and you're losing that employer coverage, then sign up for Part B within 8 months. But all these other things, you have to have had it already. Now, a lot of people will ask the question, what about if I'm getting a Medicare supplement? How does this impact me? Or there's two ways to look at this. If you're getting Part B for the first time, you're golden, because anytime you get Part B, it then gives you a 6-month window for Medicare supplement to be guarantee issue. It's not guarantee issue. The technical term is that's your open enrollment period for Medicare supplement. But the book calls it guarantee issue. It's so confusing. The difference between guarantee issue and open enrollment is when you're in open enrollment, because you're new to Part B, you can get any of the plan letters on Medicare supplement. You can get any of them. You get Plan N. It's just like you're brand new to Medicare because you are, even though you're not 65. Whenever you start your Part B, from that day forward, you've got 6 months to get a Medicare supplement, open enrollment. Pick any plan that you want to out there. Little known secret, You can actually sign up for a Medicare supplement plan in most all states 6 months before you start Part B. There's an advantage to doing that because you lock in the date of 6 months before you're going to start. And most insurance companies will let you lock in that start date for 12 months beyond your first effective date. Anyway, needless to say, on Part B, when you're starting it, you've got 6 full months then to choose a Medicare supplement plan, but only 3 to get a Part D drug plan, because the Part D drug plan follows Medicare Advantage rules. The other part of that is, though, if you already had Part B and you're working for an employer, now you're leaving that employer coverage, can you get a Medicare supplement? Technically, it depends on the state law and on the insurance company, because state law dictates whether or not you have guarantee issue provisions on Medicare supplement. Remember, Medicare supplements are regulated by the states. So if you're leaving employer coverage voluntarily, in most states, that does not give you guarantee issue into a Medicare supplement. You can go through underwriting and get any Medicare supplement plan you want to. Underwriting means just simply some health questions. And then you could get a Medicare supplement that's not guarantee issue, like a Plan N. You can get those any time of the year, anytime you want to, as long as you can go through underwriting or you're brand new to Medicare. So we're talking about somebody who, gosh, I hope I haven't lost everybody here. You're not new to Part B, so you don't get open enrollment for Medicare supplement. You've had it. You're past 6 months on Part B. You're just leaving your employer plan voluntarily. That does not give you guarantee issue for Medicare supplement, but if you're healthy enough to qualify through underwriting, no problem. When you get guarantee issue for Medicare supplement is if you're on an employer plan, you already had started Part B, and the employer involuntarily terminates your coverage, terminates your employment, either one. So if you lose your employment involuntarily, then every insurance company in the Medicare supplement world has to take you with guarantee issue. It doesn't mean you have to take the guarantee issue plan, like a Plan G. It means that they have to take you on a Plan G, but if you wanted a plan in Medicare supplement, you could still apply for it. You just answer the health question. So you can still do either one. It's nice to have that backup of having guarantee issue. But again, that's only if you left employer coverage involuntarily. Medicare Advantage, though, they'll take anybody. Just important to note, you can't skip getting Part B because you have ACA health insurance or COBRA or just VA. That's not qualifying coverage, and you're going to end up having a Part B penalty later. Other special election periods, Medicare terminates your plan's contract. Your plan, we're talking about Medicare Advantage. That has happened. It happens every year. Medicare says you're an underperforming plan. We're not going to renew your contract for next year. That means you get to go to a different company. This often happens. It's announced usually in like a September, October timeframe of the year. And so many people will freak out at the end of the year saying, oh my gosh, I've got till December 7th to pick a different Medicare Advantage plan. No, you don't. That extends another 2 months. Because if they're terminating your company, that gives you extra time beyond December 7th to find a replacement plan. Of course, it's great if you have it effective, ready, and to go in January, but it gives you extra time if they're terminating your company. If you become eligible for Medicaid, and you're going to have both of those, that opens up eligibility for what they call the dual eligible plan, which is when they combine the money, the federal money from Medicare, they combine that with the state money from Medicaid, they pull all that money and they give it to a private company, a Medicare Advantage company that has a dual eligible plan, eligible for both Medicare and Medicaid. Typically, those are more benefit rich than the typical Medicare Advantage plans because they have more money to throw at you. So typically, you'll see zero copays, maybe zero hospital copays. The network restrictions, limitations are pretty much the same. It's just that you have eligibility for more benefits if you're qualified both for Medicare and Medicaid at the same time. So if you become eligible for Medicaid, then you can explore one of these dual eligible plans and typically get better benefits than just typical Medicare Advantage, but you don't have to wait until the annual enrollment period. If you get qualified for Medicaid, you can go right then and get on one of those plans. If there's a special needs plan in your area and now you qualify for that special needs plans, there are certain ones in certain areas for cardiac patients, for diabetics, etc. If it's specific to your condition and you become eligible because you have that condition in your area, you can look on Medicare.gov and see on the Plan Finder tool what those chronic condition special needs plans are. If you have that condition and you're in that area, you can sign up for that plan and you don't have to wait for another enrollment period. And there are a couple more of those. Let me just look with you on the special enrollments page. This also will be linked below. This is on Medicare.gov. And it talks about some of these things, and it gives a little bit of detail. It doesn't list all the special enrollment periods, and that's why, like the disaster SEP I talked about at the beginning, it does not list that in here at all. But it talks about what the specifics are. Let's say you move to a new address that's not in your plan service area. Your plan talking about Medicare Advantage, not supplement. So what can I do? I can switch to a new Medicare Advantage plan. That's still not big enough to see, is it? If you're in a Medicare Advantage plan and you move outside your plan service area, you can also choose to return to original Medicare. If you don't join a new Medicare Advantage plan during that time explained, you'll be enrolled in original Medicare when you're disenrolled from your old Medicare Advantage plan for moving outside the service area. I don't know why, but this does not tell you that moving out of the service area could get you a Medicare supplement plan. No, you have to go Google search an additional page and go find out your Medicare supplement special enrollment periods. It's not very clear here, but I can just tell you based on experience and the fact that you could search it for yourself. If you're on a Medicare Advantage plan and you move out of your service area, you could do both. Either. You can't do both. You could do either a new Medicare Advantage plan or a Medicare supplement guarantee issue because you moved out of your area. So if you tell your plan, Medicare Advantage plan, before you move, your chance to switch begins the month before you move and continues 2 full months after you move to a new location. So let's say I'm choosing to move to Dallas, Texas in a month from now. Now I can notify my Medicare Advantage company, hey, my new address is going to be this address in Dallas, Texas. They will then generate a letter for you. That becomes your golden ticket to either get a Medicare supplement plan guarantee issue or simply change your Medicare Advantage plan regardless of what time of the year it is. And then it talks about the other things being released, see, from jail. It's not really jail, it's prison. No longer eligible for Medicaid. And then involuntarily lose other drug coverage. There are a whole bunch of other examples in here. You left your employer coverage, you can join a Medicare Advantage plan. But if you left COBRA coverage, you can't get on Part B. That was the other point I was making. So you can look at this. If your plan gets sanctioned because of a problem that affects you, that's pretty interesting. There's also a little known caveat that's not covered on this page, and it's if you were given false or misleading information from somebody that was helping you with your Medicare, you can plead that case on an individual basis with Medicare, and they may give you your own special enrollment period if you were given wrong information from somebody that was helping you with your Medicare, especially if it was someone that works for Medicare. They've made that provision for you. So you can check the other special enrollment periods as they may pertain to you. I've put the link in the video description below. But yeah, December 7th is no longer the one and only trigger for the end of your options when it comes to Medicare coverage and changing it and enrolling it, especially if you're in one of those disaster special enrollment periods. And you have to stay up on those. And remember, Medicare keeps a running track of those disaster special enrollment periods. And they may be, let's see, where did I put those? So I can get back to it. Right here. So this is the current list. Again, in the green, this is dated. So if you're looking at this in the future, it may not impact you right now. But in the green, the entire state is currently under a disaster SEP. So if you missed your enrollment period, you have a do-over. You can go if you were in the period if you're in that state at that time where you missed your period and they have a disaster declaration. You can check the counties on that with Medicare, and they can tell you what counties were affected or the entire state. So there's hope if you were thinking that you had only till December 7th and you forgot to do something. My name is Christopher Westfall. Feel free to subscribe if you've learned anything in this video that hopefully wasn't too overwhelming. And people say I talk too fast. Did you know that on YouTube you can actually slow it down by clicking on that gear icon and making me talk real slow? But you can also go back over it. Make sure to avail yourself of the description of this video where you can find the links where you can go into further detail on finding these disaster declarations and other important publications as they're made available by Medicare. I'm Christopher Westfall. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.